Geek Myths, a novel about life, love, and the pursuit of sonic screwdrivers. Available in paperback and Kindle edition from Amazon.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This one's one of the rather special ones. As I promised ages ago, I kind of listened in on some of the talks at the Bigfinishday. Well, this is the first of 3. Now, they're all excerpts and, well, I will be honest, my recorder wasn't particularly set to the correct settings, so you'll have to forgive me on the whole, well, fact that it's not very good. Quality-wise, content-wise, it's marvellous. The first of these is an excerpt from the Big Finish script panel with James Goss, Matt Fitton, Mike Tucker, Scott Hancock, John Ainsworth, Andrew Smith, and it's hosted by Nicholas Briggs with some questions from the audience. Enjoy.
I'm obviously doing sound design and music, and I went, oh, how many of you I knew you'd ask? I said, well, can't I write one? He went, no, you can't write one, because we can only have people who've written BBC Doctor Who books. And I said, what? But that's not the same as drama. I mean, surely I've written loads of things before you. Can't happen. I went, okay. Anyway, so he went back from having a cup of tea at my place to his flat, which was 5 minutes walk around the corner, and I started thinking of ideas for a first one, and stuff like that. And then he phones me, and he said, hi, I've been rethinking it, and he said, really, we need someone to write the first one who is kind of like in-house, because it has to be top secret for quite a long time. And if I start, looking for other writers, people will inevitably talk about it, and we don't want people to know. He said, so I'm thinking that maybe, so basically I got the job because he was sure I wouldn't tell anyone I was doing it, and not because I was any good on it. I said, well, the funny thing is I've come up with a few ideas. In the 5 minutes it took you to walk, this is what I knew you would have done. Our first idea was to do a sequel to the war games with the war chief, or I don't know. Yeah, or the other guy from Red Ships. Yeah. I think, and it was going to be his son or something, but I think Terence Dix had done a book. Adventures, yeah. Character said, they've done it. I went, and then I looked on my book case, and I had a book called The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. And I thought, to do time, sirens, and that's how. Anyway, that's my answer. My next thing is, what is it in you, do you think, or in your backgrounds and early experiences, that made you feel that A, you wanted to write, and B, if this makes any sense, you had permission to write? Because that's that feeling you have permission to express yourself, and that someone will be listening or interested in what you write. Do you sort of see what I'm getting at? I mean, what is that little spark in you that makes it? Is it what it is?
Partly, I had always wanted to write since I wrote Doctor Who stories when I was 9, 10, and then had exercise books for the 6 Doctors, which one day I'll do. But I've already had. But I went off and got an ordinary job and did things that I didn't necessarily want to do. So when the opportunity came along to carve out some time to be creative and write, it was something I wanted to do for myself. So I wanted to tell stories, really. And the nice thing about the Bigfinishday opportunity was that it was a world that I felt I listened from the first release. I got kind of the rhythms of how an audio drama works, and knowing TV Doctor Who as well, how story works. It was an area I felt confident enough in to write something and then hand it to somebody else who knew that world. So I think there is a boundary you've got to get over to feel confident enough that you've done enough of a good job that you will allow somebody else to read it, and that initial kind of breakthrough. And I think it just happened that it was a world that I felt that I knew.
Anyone else want to help?
I don't know how many people are frustrated actors, or maybe grew up thinking, oh, I want to be an actor. But you hear actors talk about, when they read scripts, they love part of it, pretend to be other people, and I find that in writing. The joy of writing is being able to not pretend to be just one other person, and pretend to be a whole host of other people. And it's the most liberating thing, being able to, express or be the nicer part of you and the more unpleasant part of you, just almost vent possibly sides of you that you wouldn't want. So you're like, actors say, villains are the best things. I think as a writer you get that. I think there's something quite delicious about writing, writing all the things you would never do or never get a chance to do. Being heroic or being villainous. And I think that's sort of the fun of it. And you also, I'm sure you as an actor and director, sort of when you're writing go, someone's going to have fun with this in studio. And that's,
But I went from completely the opposite direction. No interest in not no interest, but I never wanted to act. Gary Russell actually asked me on Dust Breeding, I said, who have you cast for this role? And he said, you can do that. And I went, I'm not an actor. And he went, oh, just do it. It's only 2 pages of script. And I went, I never bothered Gary. He did it himself, of course. I never bothered Gary. But I write what I would like to receive as an effects designer, a script I'd like to work on. So I'm always writing something that, if this arrived on my desk tomorrow, and that's what you're doing, I'd be excited by that. Now, obviously, with Big Finish, you have to adapt what was a big visual thing into an audio medium. But even so, Andrew and I were talking about this just earlier, that the first time that really struck home to me was when I listened to The Spectre of Lanyon Moore. And it was like listening to an off-air recording of a Doctor Who story. And I was like, oh God, I wish I'd seen that one now. So I always write from the point of view of just how would it excite me if this arrived for the first time.
James, I saw you twitching for the mic earlier.
I've just worked with an awful lot of really, really horrible people, and writing is the easiest way of having revenge. 7 years BBC middle management. Boom.
Had you written before though, as a kid, and written stories?
When I was 17, with a guy called Arden at school, we wrote a stage adaptation of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. And the weird thing is it's still performed all around the world. So basically, my 17-year-old self still has a much better career than I do. And every couple of months I'll just get a cheque for 22 quid and you just go, thank you very much. But Arvind was the producer of the Netflix Dirk Gently TV series. So not only did 17-year-old Arvind have a brilliant career, 40-something-year-old Arvind also has a brilliant career. I work for Big Finish.
Well, we all do.
Actually, you only have right.
You're a writer. Yeah.
What I love about James' scripts as well is so often I will spot lines of our own conversations in there. He really does borrow from every other. And I go, James, did I not say that to you? Yes, but it was a good line.
It's always a maniac saying it, presumably.
Yeah.
Andrew, did you want to add some of you?
You talk about permission, your permission, right? That not so name, talk about being confident. For me, that was always the thing. Because I've never been overconfident in anything. And still, I submit a script, I still go, just wait. Quickly, look at that. Yeah. But, so I just don't remember the time I wasn't writing. I got a typewriter for Christmas when I was about 7 or 8. Back in the day when everybody could type. And just was always writing stories for myself. And then got into kind of audio recording TV programs and writing up. Not going to talk to who, but English, Sweeney and that as well. Trying to get a feel for dialogue. But when it came to submitting things, there was always that worry of, is it any good? We're going to read it. We have to do this, but then sort of my confidence was built up. My first thing was writing comedy sketches. I wrote for Weekending on Radio 4. And in fact, that was a great experience because it was a topical thing, like Dead Ringers. And so I'd write it. I wrote my first 4 comedy sketches, sent them out to London, and was listening. I didn't know I was listening to Weekending until David Jason was speaking my lines, and I won't get the text around it. But that gave me increased confidence, not comedy sketching, but it gave me increased confidence. And then Doctor Who happened, and again, you just get that increased confidence, and maybe that you feel that permission that actually you're writing stuff. You're starting with a blank page, and you're trying out the stories that people maybe want to watch and want to read. Yeah, that's kind of therapeutic for me in a way. It gave me extra confidence. Just always felt I wanted to write. On the frustrating actor thing, it just made me think as well, am I the only one who speaks the language I like? So I'm writing on
No, I speak.
I've been a Dalek for most of the last 2 or 3 weeks, to the intense amusement of my kids. The only time we laughed more was when I was being Australian for a 5th Doctor story. Alright, Doctor? That's right, as far as I'm going to get.
Sorry.
That's that was Welsh, because but it's a funny thing. I know John always talked about it, and actually working on the train, people looking at him because he's speaking like trying to be quite. He doesn't. He's not as quiet as he thinks he is. That's all part of the game.
Yeah, definitely, John. I don't think you.
Well, I'm a fraud, really. I'm not really a writer, but I guess I've always been, or at least developed an interest in how stories work. And I know, back in the 80s, Nick and I used to sit around and talk endlessly about, or dissecting about how the stories worked or why it didn't work. And not just Doctor Who, we used to watch all sorts of films and things like that. And that was a really sort of important experience, which I sort of took a lot away from, and just this sort of bouncing off different points of view. And I suppose really ever since then, just even though I'm not necessarily writing, I'm working with writers. And as a script editor, you're helping, I suppose, provide a different point of view to writers. James might say, and I say, well, why don't you do that instead or something? And I love all that, especially trying to sort of make something like Doctor Who, like I said before, so often there's a lot of very familiar tropes come up, and if you can find ways of making them surprising, or just doing something. And sometimes, I'm sure everyone here wouldn't mind me saying this, but sometimes writers just need a little bit of a push. You say, well, go in that direction with it, or how about that? Or even if you say, trouble is, blah, 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 I know what's going to happen. And so that's, do something that I can't tell what's going to happen, So I love working with writers.
Also, I'm constantly asking myself when writing and reading a script, is what is this about? Because there's a tendency for us all, I think, certainly for me as a writer, you fall in love with something that's tangential, which is great, but it's not actually what it's about. And maybe you can save that for something else, that nice little flourish you've done. I'm constantly going back over scenes that I've written and thinking, oh, I can see why I put that in there because that's a nice line of dialogue. But I think that for me, it's a nice line of dialogue. That's not a good enough reason in itself to have it there. What is this scene about? What are these people thinking? I sometimes resort to asking my wife, who's not a writer and not interested in things, I just tell her the situation about the people. And she goes, well, wouldn't he wouldn't even stay there if someone said that. I think, no, you're right, actually. This person's going to leave, aren't they? Stuff like that. And I love those moments of revelation where you suddenly realise that you could really throw a brick into the scene that messes up the neat idea you had. It makes it more realistic.
And more interesting.
Yeah.
And more real. I think that's, I was thinking about this the other day about, science fiction and what's, the opportunities that science fiction stories give you to do, you can sort of parallel real world. I mean, I produced the late sevens, and so you do all sorts of things like terrorism and freedom fighting without it tapping into real world politics, but it's having people in incredible situations behaving in a totally believable way, and that's what the listener or the reader relates to, and so that's why try and avoid it becoming like Flash Gordon. I've recently been saying this. I said I want less Flash Gordon, more Black Mirror. Is to sort of make it about something and see that it actually affects people's lives. And I think once your characters start behaving realistically, it all works.
By the way, I started writing when I was a kid, just exercise books. I used to get home from school and I would say to my mother, I'm writing a book this evening. And I'd grab a bit of paper, loads of paper, I'd fold it in half, staple it down the side, I'd draw the cover, pick out the title, put by Nicholas Briggs on the front. This is when I was 27. And that's the comedy age for that joke. He's 27. And then I would do what I'd seen in books, I'd write the title, and then I'd write something about me, and I'd write a contents page, like chapter title, unwritten story yet, and then I would do chapter up, and I'd write it and just keep going until I filled the book. And if I was running out of story, I'd start, I think, well, they have illustrations in their Target books, don't they? So, I'd put a few illustrations in. Or the story would be really sort of scrunched up at the end with small writing, going, and then the spaceship blew up and everyone died, and that's and stopped doing that.
It's funny, I used to do exactly the same piece of A4 paper, folded, stapled, draw the cover, do the back cover blurb. And aged about 6, I wrote a Doctor Who story about hyper-intelligent ballpoint pens that could jump at people's necks and jab them. And I did the cover and presented it to my mum, and she goes, "Oh, that's nice, dear. Doctor Who with the penis." You might want to rethink the day on
All words of death. Yeah. And then, of course, I think for me, the mission thing is to do with feeling you're sort of in a safe place to do it. I'm totally intimidated about the idea of submitting work to other people. So I've created for myself a situation where I'm safe and I can say to script editors, no, I'm not doing that. I just completely shot myself in the foot with Chris Chibnall before he became showrunner. We were out having lunch because he lives in the same town as me. And we was like, oh, we live in the same town, we ought to be town, that would be good, wouldn't it? And he said, you never thought writing for the TV series, you've written loads of Doctor Who stories, I went, no. That's it. I said, all that, out of 15 drafts, I said, I'll do 2 drafts today, do what you like with it, keep my name on it. And he went, that would never work on TV, Nick. So consequently, I'm not being asked to That's it. Right, well, have you got any questions for us, then? Yes, hello.
I'd like to ask, when people send things in, what are the common denominators, and you're going through them thinking, oh no, it's that again. What are the sort of fanish things that are being sent in, and you immediately discount it because it's there?
Well, first of all, by the way, we don't have an open submissions policy, because unfortunately there's the problem that someone might send something in that we don't read because we're too busy, and then 2 months later we do a story that's a bit like it. And then they start saying, with some justification, you stole my idea and not done my script. And we're sitting there thinking, we didn't even read your thing, and that has happened at least one time in Got Buried, and that's when we thought we can't look at submissions. So we generally, but that's, people do suggest ideas, I suppose. Has anyone got any comments?
I think that we approach kind of new writers or kind of pro-writers. So that's kind of how we've had new people come on board. And there are some common areas people who are new to people who are writing Doctor Who. It's quite often that the Doctor isn't the centre of the story. It's
things about the things they've invented.
Yes. That's quite a common thing, is having to steer people to it being a Doctor Who story as opposed to a story about their characters.
The common thing is the Doctor becoming just an observer, which sort of ties in a little bit with what you're saying, but the Doctor, I always say the Doctor has got to resolve the situation and leave the something has to change. You can't just have the Doctor come along and effectively just watch what's going to happen anyway, even if he hasn't been there. So the Doctor has to be an instigator for positive change by doing something great and clever at the end, I think.
Any other stuff?
Well, I just find it because you get asked this question there on Twitter, people going, oh, how do I write for Big Finish, or how do I act for Big Finish, or things like this. And I think this applies across careers as well, is that because with social media and stuff, things are so visible. I think people expect that everyone's just walked in, and then the first thing they've ever written is for Big Finish, and it's that easy. And actually, I think most people have, done either fringe theatre or, they've done a lot of writing before they ever get asked to do Big Finish. And I think there's just an expectation sometimes that people can just do audio dramas. They go, well, there's no sets or anything, it's got to be really easy, but it's actually, it ties back to something I was saying earlier, that audio is such a difficult medium for people to get, because prose writers often tend to stick to overly descriptive dialogue because that's what they're comfortable with. TV writers often have stage directions like slow motion car crash or caption 1 day later. And I was saying theatre writers tend to get it more because theatre is an audio where you're restricted in terms of your visuals, it's all about character and similar sort of structure and pace actually. So I think I'm always more interested in what people haven't had done aside from Doctor Who. I think if you want to be a writer, you can't just want to write Doctor Who because you're limiting yourself. You just want to tell stories. And I think that's how you find the interesting writers for Doctor Who is the ones who've done other things and you go, yes, you can apply those worlds to a Doctor Who environment and you just tell something fresh and exciting rather than go, I've got a brilliant story where the Master and the Rani meet Obvious and the Fendal and things like that. And go,
you've done that, Nick, haven't you?
Yeah. We also, on TalkShow, which has adult material in, some people really don't understand what the brand is. There was somebody who's very insistent and sent me this email going, I should really write for TalkShow because my wife and I have a very inventive love life. And lots of follow-on emails. And the book.
I remember you sending me the PDF of the novel manuscript and I could only get past the prologue.
I skim read quite a lot of that book.
It's amazing because people...
If you're here, well done.
I think adult material means, it's got to include lots of sections where you actually, things like that, they have their place, but you really need to earn it. You can't just, oversaturate, or it loses impact. But I think a lot of people weirdly misremember Torture as being just the first couple of episodes and forget how it grew and developed.
I think so, like chipping in. I think what you're saying is that this applies to Doctor Who. Some people just sort of see the sort of surface, Doctor Who's got to have people running around corridors, or Torture's got to have sex and swearing in it, and it's coming at it from the wrong direction, isn't it? You've got to start, and then it leads to that.
The great thing about these formats is there's the potential to do so much more than we've seen on screen, and sort of embracing what we haven't seen rather than just the comfort of what we already know.
Yes, it's whether this would be the same for a submission or for a script that comes in that's being commissioned. I constantly have to work with writers to make sure that they're doing the best with the idea they've come up with, because writing Doctor Who seems to be very, very difficult. Everyone says that. Stephen Moffat's all saying that, when they're on their drink, conscious. And he's so difficult. And then they have to go through the other filter, which is me or you know what I mean? It has to be not only qualify as good Doctor Who, it has to sort of qualify as good Doctor Who that Nick Briggs likes, or Hancock likes, as well. And that's another barrier to go through. And so you also have to struggle to work out, because there's so many different kinds of Doctor Who. And something I learned from Gary Russell is that he recognised the broad church of Doctor Who. That's no pun with Christian. So you have to look at things that it's not your kind of Doctor Who, but you know other people like it, so you have to help them to make it as good as they possibly can. Should we take another question? Yes, from there. Yeah, hello.
Hi, I'm really impressed with what you've done with Johnny Green's character in Torchwood. I mean, the homeless story, because I live in central London and walk around London, it really hit me. I mean, as a blind person, you know, I don't see it in the same way, because obviously I don't see what's around. And it was just, the way you wrote the story, Jay, was just amazing. I just, you know, how do you mix that reality with sci-fi? It must be quite difficult sometimes.
Wow, thank you. We're very lucky with Torchwood in that we can actually do stuff, and that one did go too far. That was one of the rare occasions when David Richardson went, do you know what, I'm just going to check a few bits about this with Nick, because that one is really very extreme. But the thing is, science fiction is very good at looking at the world around us and going, if you just nudged it a little bit that way, it becomes truly horrifying. But I'm really glad you enjoyed it, although it's not a very enjoyable story.
It's not enjoyable, but it was just a subject. It was just, it pushed the boundary, and sometimes I think in society you need to do that.
Thank you.
I think it's a really good point. And I hate having to say, let's not do something, because right at the back there with headphones on. Hello.
I've had a sort of query in regards to writing as someone who isn't experienced, isn't a professional, doesn't have anything strictly well known to his name. But what I struggle with is trying to discern what disparages a professional piece of writing like what you do for Big Finish, and what's a fan fiction by someone who only tangentially knows what he's doing like I do, because in spite of it, I don't do this. I don't write for. I write for fun more than anything. I would love to do it professionally, but I know that there's a hell of a lot more to it than just putting words to paper. I wonder if you've got any sense of like what separates a professional piece from a fan fiction.
Yeah, well, I'll just say a couple of things that sound frivolous. One is getting paid for it. The other one is luck. A lot of our stories here about how we got involved in Big Finish, it's luck, and I believe life is, we love to think that it's all part of a plan, and we love to think it's because we're brilliant or a bit talented or whatever level of talent we think we've got, but it's actually mostly to do with luck. And then when the luck happens, what helps is if you've got some ability. But yeah, what do you think, Vince?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a background that was not sort of trained as a professional writer at all. I'm an effects designer who sort of almost fell into the writing. I mean, I did used to write as a kid. I read vociferously as a kid. But for me, listen to your editors, listen to your script editors, because they are there trying to make your thing better. And if all you do is argue with them about how you don't want to change a single thing that you've written, you're not listening to the experience that they're bringing to try and bring you up a level. And all the things that I've ended up reading that I've been proud of, that I've written, have been because I've worked with fantastic script editors, and in a lot of my early stuff with a fantastic co-writer. A co-writer is far more likely to be brutal about your project than a script editor is. But if you don't listen to them, you argue, toss about every single little thing, you're never going to improve.
So it's a case of take constructive criticism.
Yes, because it's there for a reason.
Yeah, it's just like I appreciate that constructive criticism does have its benefits. Like this thing I'm holding here, I wrote instantly within 2 pages of it because they had so many mistakes in it, and I've given it, handed it to a few people.
So sorry.
People have read through it. I emailed it to Rob Shim and to get it. He gave me constructive criticism. I acted on it, and I think it is significantly better for me.
Yeah, well, that's the way to go, and just keep listening to that. And it means that when you do end up with a point that you really do want to argue, you're arguing from a strong position because you've made yourself obvious that you will listen when it does need changing.
Any other points anyone wants to make? I mean, the cliche is, the general advice is if you want to write, then just keep writing. You know, keep a notebook with you, write stuff down, write stories whenever you feel, you may not finish them, you may get loads of, I read loads of first pages, first chapters of novels that have never seen light of day,
One of the most practical things you can do is have a deadline. That's probably a big difference between...
That's why audio visuals really made a difference to me, the amateur Doctor Who things that I was involved with before.
That's it as well. It's so important, that thing about, learning from constructive criticism from people that do the job professionally is so important. But one thing, I find when I submit a script, my first audience is the script editor and the producer. And it's that small audience, and they'll come back, various notes, you do the second, third draft, whatever. Back when I did Full Circle, that wasn't just submitting an idea that got picked up and made. That was on the back of 3 or 4 years of sending things in, scripts to Douglas Adams, had to be brought home, to getting, particularly from Anthony, you read the one script that really came out with all sorts of annotated notes on it, and learning from each of those experiences. And hoping that what I was sending into the office, and I was sending things into other things as well, not just Doctor Who. I think the point made earlier about if you only want to write Doctor Who, then writing professionally is probably not your thing. You need to be interested in telling stories first and foremost. I think you might have talked about just fan fiction there or something, but there's some very, very well written fan fiction. It's not to say that fan fiction, because it's not professional and not paid for, is a lesser type of writing. You can find some little gems in there. It's still someone's writing. And being a writer is just about writing. I've said to people on Twitter, say aspiring writer or someone, get rid of aspiring, you write, you're a writer.
Just to finish off, because we haven't got too much time now, I just want to ask you all to talk about any particular bit of writing that you've done for Big Finish that was particularly exciting for you as a commission. With John, I suppose it'd be more about talking about something that someone else wrote for something you were producing. I don't know.
Think about it.
Okay. Who wants to leap in?
I'll say the thing that really excited me more than anything else was doing the Barbarians and Samurai for David Bradley and the First Doctor Adventures, which was it's set 19th century Japan during the period of Sakoku. It's a period of history that a lot of people don't know about, but Japan had basically shut itself off from the world and was a society that had kind of treaded water culturally, technologically, for about 250 years. I knew something about it. I've been interested in it from I think about 1980, 81. I started reading up on this history and Japanese culture. To have the opportunity to tell that was very exciting. I mean, it was hugely hard work. I had to research almost every page of that script for floor coverings and types of doors, and as well as the other surroundings and references that characters would make to each other. It came about, it was myself and Guy, and Matt and John got the email, we're going to be doing the First Doctor with David Bradley and the team from Veterans Space and Time, and we'd like an historical story, and Guy chipped in early on doing the White Hurricane. And then I sent an email and said, I was thinking of doing this thing in Japan in the 19th century. And then I think you, Nick, came out to West up to historical thing. So it really didn't happen. I'm so glad it did, but loved it. It's a very different kind of writing experience, but exciting. I'll shut up.
My favourite part of the recording was getting 3 Japanese actors to be an entire army. I said, and 50 takes later, no, I think we've got enough of them now. They're all there. Well, I can't see what they were doing because it just seemed racist. Anyway, anyone else? Exciting thing.
I think one of the things, I'm really proud of Survivors generally, just the whole being the privilege being able to take sort of start it into a working episode, and then the episode in series 2, it kind of pushed it kind of as far as you went in darkness and drama. So I think whenever you're allowed to kind of stretch your muscles, and there's something upcoming, but I'm also very proud of the Rose Tie the Dimension Canon series. That has a special place for me because we were working with Russell on that, getting feedback on storylines, and so it took a lot of care and efforts and heart to shape it into what it is, and I'm looking forward to hearing that.
I suppose not a technical point of view, I get a lot of pleasure from handing an idea or just a gel or something to a writer and just seeing what they do with it. And I mean, like for instance, the Klein trilogy, the stories, just saying, right, we're going to put a Nazi in the TARDIS with the Doctor and force them to be together, do something with that, And I think when you see that idea sort of blossom into probably more than I would have imagined and things like that, that's very rewarding and exciting when that happens.
James, you got something like?
I think one of the exciting things we've got coming up is Scott and I have got a Bernie Summerfield box set coming out where we have 4 brand new authors, one of whom, April, is here. And we literally found them by running a short story competition. It turned out that some of the images were just so good we went, stop it, get them to write it. And it's just been a brilliant thing to work on. So it is possible. You just have to be brilliant, like people like April are.
No question.
I think with me, this is the first thing that we did. It's the genocide machine, and so Gary from Rossum phoned me up and said, "Oh, you're doing Dalek story." Just, it was that easy. You were directing it. We had a few chats. We struggled getting episode 4 sort of locked down. But then we sent it to the nation state, and it was like, now we just have to wait and see if they're going to say yes or no. A little like what you were saying about it goes past Russell. That's the terrifying bit. It's like it's their baby that we're playing with. And I remember you phoning me up and going, "Oh, the nation, Cape Nation loved it," and it was like, God for that. So it's that first one. It was that moment of validation by people whose work you've already admired, going, "Yeah, you're all right too." So that was a good moment.
The individual thing I love writing is the tortured cascade thing I did with James, because James is brilliant at pushing you, and we just got to go mad with the format, and it's very experimental. And like, you weren't going to read that one, Fred. But also, I love, not so much as a writer, but I originated the idea of Dorian Gray series, which back at the time, was a real hunt for Bigfinishday. I remember you and Jason going, "Yeah, we'll give this a go." And it's just a thing that, there's no established audience or anything, but it grew to get a real fan base going, cared about it a lot. And I love that Bigfinish is willing to take a punt on things like that, or, Cicero and Afterguard, and, there's so many little, I can say the world of stories that we tell is infinite. And I love that Bigfinish isn't ever a shut shop and go, no, it must be a sci-fi thing, or no, it must have an established fan base to tap into. I think that's really exciting actually. Bigfinish is even within the franchises you can push it any direction, but you can, outside of it it's even bigger.
I'm lucky enough to be able to be excited about an awful lot of things because I just having the job I've got for myself in there. I mean, I don't know, loads of stuff, but I suppose if I had to narrow it down what I'm thinking about now, writing the first Tom Baker story, writing Energy of the Daleks, which, that was, because in a way I thought it would never happen, so that was an exciting thing for me. Anyway, we're just about done. I just wanted to finish just by saying to all of you writers, directors, producers, that we are very privileged to be able to work with such great people. So thank you all.
On Saturday the 31st of August 2019, Hooverville returns. The Derby Quad brings us the best Little Doctor Who convention in the world. Guests announced so far include Ingrid Oliver, Osgood, Sophia Miles, Madame Pompadour, the girl in the fireplace, Nabil Shaban, who played Syl, Christopher Ryan, Lord Kiv in Mind Warp, and General Stahl in the Sontaran Stratagem, Edward Russell, former Doctor Who brand manager, Rob Ritchie, 3D animator on the Macra Terror, Keith Barnfather from Real Time Pictures, Chris Chapman, Doctor Who VAM producer, James Burgess, model maker on Mission to the Own remake, and there are sponsored guests including Michael E. Bryant, director, and Simon Fisher-Becker, who played Dorian Maltivar. There are still guests to be announced, and some of them are pretty impressive. So get yourself over to the Derby Quad website and book yourself a ticket for Saturday the 31st of August 2019. See you there. That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.